It's so wonderful for me to be back here again. I've been away for 3 months in other countries, and I'm thrilled to be back here in what still seems like the new world compared to some buildings I was in from the 14th century, the 12th century. And hello to you on Zoom. And so thought. I've been thinking about thought for the past 3 months. And I've had many thoughts about thoughts since then. And this morning, I actually listened. I was on Zoom when Mark Fowler spoke, but I wasn't on Zoom last Sunday, but I listened to both of them this morning. And I gathered loads of notes, quotes from Ernest Holmes. For those of you who aren't familiar with that name, he's the founder of Religious Science, a New Thought focus. And then I read about the neuroscience, which is not something that I easily retain. And I made I copied everything. I printed 4 pages. And just before I got out of my car, I realized that they're in my house. So I had a new thought. And my new thought is I am totally going to trust all of my thinking about thoughts that I've done. And then during the opening song, and this is repeated a number of times in Love Is My Decision. And once I decide to change my mind, and I was thinking about it in terms of, and once I decide to change my thought, and I'm talking about thought with a capital T, which is a thought that captures our body, mind, and spirit, that captures the actual thoughts we're thinking, the words we speak, the feelings that we experience in relation to the thought, and then the actions that we take. I was also struck by something that Mark Fowler said 2 weeks ago, and it was something about being perfect. And we strive for perfection, and it's often a standard that we think is out there someplace, that I have to get there. Well, I have a little different thought about perfection. We are always a perfect reflection of the dominant, energetic thought that we are having. So if you ever want to know what you're thinking, all you have to do is open your eyes and take a look at what's going on in your life at that very moment. What thought, what programming, what brain pathway is leading you, is leading me? I did sort of remember this, and I was struck by it in one of the quotes. This isn't an Ernest Holmes quote. And it was, what's the distinction between thought and thinking? And what it said, and I'm sorry that I don't remember who said this, because it was a name I wasn't familiar with. It said that a thought is something that arises spontaneously. Thinking is something we have a choice about. Do I continue to think that thought that is self-sabotaging? Do I continue to blame myself or someone else? Do I continue to relive a trauma over and over and over again and find proof and evidence of the thought very, very easily? Because we make up the story. It's not the thought itself. It's the story that we make up about the thought, about how I should be. I shouldn't be the way I am right now. And so I'm thinking that some of you who are familiar with me may have had a thought popping into your mind, an actually charming thought. It was popping into your mind when I was saying some other very, very, very important words. So, guess what? Anybody know? And it's so great to see so many people here, so I want to make sure that I get to charm you all. These are all the same. I've got to find where I put my extras. And if anyone didn't get one, I do have more. And there are words on them, and I encourage you to trust yourself enough to just pick the perfect one for you, rather than thinking about, oh, what's the perfect one for me? Because these are inspirational words. There's faith, there's grace, there's miracles, I think there's one that says family, forever. There are many, but trust that the one, and it looks like we need more. So I will make sure at the end that everybody gets one. Because of course, just as I left my notes at home, somewhere there is another package of about 40 charms. So I want to tell you why I give out charms. One is because I loved Cracker Jacks when I was a child. And there were really good charms in Cracker Jacks then. But there's another reason, is I need as many reminders as I can get to stay focused on my overarching thought, North Star, which is to be a mighty expression of love in the world. And sometimes mighty looks mightier than it does other times. To essentially lead with love. Because I do believe that earth, when you take the H at the end of the word and you put it at the beginning, you get the word heart. And I believe that, and this is my made-up story, that Earth School, the University of the Universe of Earth, that Earth School is a place to learn love. And we live at a time in the world right now where we see a lot that isn't love. And we have a choice to make about how we hold and what we think about what we see. And so this morning, I did have a new thought. And I thought that all of the separation, all of the isms, all of the violence, all of the othering that's going on in the world right now is a really, really loud call for love. Offers us the choice. And I'm not saying that I never get annoyed when I decide that I just heard something stupid from a politician or someone else. But the more that I focus on the thought of being a mighty expression of love, the sooner I come home to my heart. And then I can say, sometimes I say it aloud, then I can say to the person who I was judging and criticizing, I can say, thank you for the reminder for me to be more loving in this moment. And I want to be clear, it's more than just having a new thought. It is the marriage of the thought that we hear in our minds, led by the wisdom of our heart, our higher power, God, the loving energy of the universe, whatever you choose to call what looks like empty space, but is connecting us. We are inhaling one another's exhale every moment. I made sure, I did remember to bring my prayer shawl that was made 22 years ago for my ordination, because I endowed this shawl with the energy of we are one. And I thought that so often that whenever I put it on, oh yeah, we are one. We are one in my own body, of body, mind, and spirit. And we are one as a community. And we are one with all beings that inhabit the earth. We are interdependent. So I want to tell you a story that I experienced recently. So I was in Portugal, and I have to say that sometimes I do act as if, well, I'm American, I can just do whatever I want, you know, things work out for me. And so I really didn't pay attention when I made reservations that I was going to be there for 97 days. And the visa is only 90 days. And so I went online. So I had a thought, okay, I better get in. I can do nothing. I could be an ostrich, or I can get online with people who are expats in Portugal. And I immediately got 20 responses, which said, you know, you can go to Morocco for a few days, get out of the country, then come back, because there's a good chance there'll be a big fine and you won't be able to come back into the EU for 3 to 5 years. Well, my beau was very, very upset when he heard this. And we decided that the next day we would go to the CEF office, the office that handles visas, in the next town quite close by. So I decided the night before I had to go there with a good attitude. And my attitude was, the worst that will happen. My thoughts were, here's the worst that will happen. I have to leave Europe 6 days early. Maybe it will cost more. That's the absolute worst. And the day before, we would go into the CEF office. I know on Zoom you can't see this, and some of you in the back can't see it, but I bought a pair of pink boots. And I love these pink boots because they're pink. And because now that I'm an old woman, there's a book called When I'm an Old Woman, I'll Wear Purple. When I'm an old woman, I can wear pink boots. And so we go to the train station to go into the next town. And not only do I have my pink boots on, I have my bracelets that I love that all mean something to me, the necklace that I did a trade with my stepdaughter for necklaces. I wore favorite underwear, and I wore actually the socks that I'm wearing today, which have stars on them and some pink. And so how do we strengthen, how do we create a new brain pathway? We use charms, we use our favorite things, we wear something that when we look at it, oh yeah, I love those pink boots. And so we get to the office, and there are people standing outside, a few people in front of us. I don't have an appointment, couldn't get an appointment online. And I ask, does everybody have an appointment here? And a woman who seemed kind of annoyed to me turned around, faced me, and said, this is the line for everybody. It doesn't matter whether or not you have an appointment. Okay. And a guard receptionist came out saying, okay, who's here for the 1:30 appointment? And my boyfriend went up to him and said, she can only be here 90 days. She has her plane reservation is for 97 days. And the man said, no problem, she can stay. There won't be any problem when she goes to the airport. But I didn't feel good. I had nothing in writing. He was thrilled because now I was staying 6 more days. And but I looked down at my boots and said, okay, this is going to work out. So without going into every detail, we went into a little cafe where we know the owner, and a friend of hers was sitting there filling out forms to get a waiver, to renew her 10-year permanent resident visa. And the woman, who I thought had a nasty response, walked in, and she was helping this woman with this visa renewal. And she said to me, oh, don't believe what that man told you. But yeah, there is such a backlog here, and there's a problem going on in the government in terms of who is handling visas. So you can stay here until December 31st, 2023, as long as you arrived after January 1st. And I did. I arrived on January 12th. And so I'm thrilled now. And I'm certain at that moment that my pink boots, the underwear that I like, the bracelets that I'm wearing, kept me connected with the new thought of everything is going to work out. And that's really my message today, is thoughts are real things. And we have a choice to whether or not we believe them. Because what is a belief? A belief is a thought that has been thought over and over and over and over, and then over and over again, that we've gathered loads of evidence for, which is very easy to gather because evidence is made up. We see a situation, and then we tell ourselves a story about the circumstance, and then we take that story to be truth. So while I don't remember many of Ernest Holmes' quotes, I do remember what I learned from one of my teachers, Don Miguel Ruiz, who some of you may be familiar with his work, The Four Agreements. Thoughts charged with emotional energy, spoken of with authority, you are the author, and acted on with conviction, acted on with faith, is what we create with our co-creative partner, the loving energy of the universe that says yes to whatever our dominant vibrational energy is. And this isn't about simply, okay, well, I had that thought, I'll just have a new thought and everything will be fine. Some of those self-sabotaging thoughts, some of the judgmental thoughts that we have about ourselves and others, some of the old wounds that are not healed within us yet, the old traumas, it can be more than, oh yeah, I'll just have a new thought. Because what makes the difference is my energy of being a mighty expression of love in the world. Is my energy aligned with that thought? And the energy will make a difference. So, is there anybody who didn't get a charm yet?
I have 2 extras.
So everybody got one? Yes? Great. So what I'd like you to just take a moment to do is to look at your charm and ask your charm what thought it is gifting you with today. And then simply breathe it in. And it may be an affirmation. I like to call affirmations love notes. And then ask yourself, am I ready? Am I willing to bring this new thought to life in my life? And then notice today, tomorrow, as the days go by, notice if when you're thinking the opposite of this thought, that you congratulate yourself for noticing and then breathe life into the new thought. As always, it's such an honor to be with you. Thank you.